One. Here we are. Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. This is the League of Ireland show, and we are back again with a bang. I'm joined by Peter Manning from at Everything LOI. Peter, how are you this morning?
Oh, glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very, very close to the afternoon at this point, but we're going to go with morning because there's still 5 minutes left of the morning. We have I suppose, a big list of talking points that we're going to go through. So I suppose we'll get you to get us starting off with. I think you've got Derry up first, isn't it?
Yeah, Derry's for our second leg in sunny California. Obviously, they can't play it in the brand new well. We discussed last week. Um, First leg, probably. I'm not quite sure. I'd consider Derry the better side in it. I don't know if you watched the game, did you?
No.
Yeah, I only got through the highlights there now myself. I didn't actually watch the full game, but watching the game, definitely would say Derry were the weaker side in it. Definitely did have chances, and the ref questionable decisions. I think there was a 2 foot on Adam O'Reilly early on in the first or halfway through the first half. There was a penalty shout that for patching. But overall, I didn't think Derry were the better side. I thought Tobol were, obviously home advantage and that sorts of things. I still don't think there's that much in it in terms of you're bringing it back to Tala. Can they get a result out of it? I'd fancy them, possibly, but definitely an uphill battle. But at 1-0, who knows?
Yeah, I think. Look, the thing is that they'll have fans there to cheer them on and whatever else. I think that's going to be helpful. I think obviously if other League of Ireland fans are there to help them out and maybe try and will them over the line. I know there's certain fans who hate the whole LOI family thing, and I understand that. But to the ones that will probably go and maybe just create a good enough atmosphere, maybe an intimidating atmosphere, and who knows, you may actually end up getting something out of the game. I mean, realistically, Derry just need to try and avoid conceding a goal for them to have a pretty decent result in the game. Like, obviously they need to score to get themselves back in the tie, but if they can just not concede over the 90 minutes, they're in a really good chance to try and get themselves a result there, whether that's 1-0, 1-1, or sorry, no, 1-0 or 2-0 to Derry is obviously a fantastic result and see them through. But if they can get maybe a 1-0 extra time, maybe into penalties, you just don't know. Again, it's obviously not a stadium that they're used to in terms of playing in every week. They're obviously used to Brandywell and stuff like that. But Tallaght Stadium, you won't get a better pitch other than maybe the Aviva for to play football on. So I don't see Derry going into this game and not thinking that they can be positive, and getting a result out of it.
Yeah, and I look, as you said, I'm not exactly sure how many fans are going to bring down. Obviously, it's a Thursday night, coming down to Dublin. It's not actually exactly a short drive, but you would expect them to bring a good amount of fans. As you said, Tallaght, great pitch. I was watching the highlights there, the pitch there over in Kazakhstan. How they were being allowed to use that, I don't know. Obviously, UEFA don't want Derry using the plastic pitch, and that's obviously other reasons why you can't use the Brandywell. But the fact that you know Derry are being scrutinised by UEFA for having a plastic pitch, yet over in Kazakhstan they're allowed to use this pitch that's, looks like something in the Sunday League. Possibly even worse, I don't know. But yeah, look, at the Derry did create plenty of chances over there. Defensively, they held up well, considering the fact that Tobo were all over them most of the game. They did hold up very well. Brian Maher made plenty of good saves, and even the goal that Tobol did score was just, a fact that they didn't get back in shape defensively fast enough, Derry, and then it was just a banger shot from outside the box and went in. So yeah, look, I'd still fancy their chances anyway in the second leg.
I just think with Derry that they actually, they've got players there that have done it before with, the likes of Dundalk, Michael Duffy, you've got McElhenney, and there's other players in the squad there as well, Dummigan and stuff like that. So they've got the players that, have the mentality and have done it before. So that's why I'm kind of thinking that they could be going into this feeling good and optimistic about it. You've got Michael Duffy, who is always a threat for the goal. Always scores big goals as well. He scored the winner obviously in the last tie. So I mean, you got players like that, McElhenney, who you could argue is the best player in the league when he's fit and firing. I think it's between him and Jack Byrne, probably the two best players in the league when they are fit. So I mean, you've got the players there, but it's just a matter of, I suppose, can they get those players into the game, and can Tobol stop them from playing? That would be the thing. But it's also, can Derry stop Tobol from playing as well? And again, like you touched on someone like Brian Maher, who I think, again, he could be up there as probably one of the best League of Ireland goalkeepers, if not the best, whatever way you want to look at it. I'm sure Derry fans would think he's the best.
Oh yeah, probably for me, between him and probably Shepherd. Obviously, you know, the likes of Kearns and Dean Linus have a great season as well. But look at, it's not an unwinnable tie for them. Obviously now they're going to have the cup game as well on Sunday against Pats, which isn't going to be an easy game for them either. Will they be tired after the European game? I don't exactly know, but look, it's definitely winnable.
Yeah, well, I think so. And they obviously they got a result against Drogheda obviously as well over the weekend, so they didn't stumble. I know me and you were talking last week thinking that they might stumble over the line. So were you surprised kind of when you saw the result?
I wasn't so much surprised. I know Derry obviously had the quality there that if they showed up against Drogheda, they'd easily beat Drogheda. Look at, they've been a good side this season.
Good,
as I said, they've beat a lot of the big sides, and they've definitely shown that they're
really, especially obviously off the back of travel.
More than likely going to stay up. I wouldn't really fancy what Drogheda was one of the sides to go down at this moment in time, unless they really have a proper collapse. But
good, solid.
They easily beat Drogheda, and it shows if they show up against Pats now on Saturday, they could easily thumb Pats as well. It's not like they haven't done it this season. I think they've won it once. They beat us from the Brandywell. But look at, and as I said, moving on to the cup anyway. Moving on to the cup. Obviously, a few games in.
Before you move on to the cup, we have an interview with Jamie McGonigal that one of our lads, Callum, did the other day. So we'll have that play for you here now. So. Dun, 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 dun.
Good, solid performance tonight. 3 goals and a clean sheet. What was your thoughts on the performance?
You couldn't ask for any more, really, especially obviously off the back of travelling home from Kazakhstan, and the boys have all recovered well, and tonight was just about winning. Didn't matter if it was 1-0, 3-0, 4-0, whatever, but obviously it's better that it was 3-0 and keeps the confidence up.
Exactly. Another 3 points on the board. He's have a game in hand with UCD, but if he's won that, it'll be 2 points behind Shamrock Rovers. How important is it that you keep up the momentum in the league as well as the other competitions?
Well, I know it's a cliche thing to say, but we aren't looking too far ahead. We've obviously a massive game here on Thursday night, so we're just trying to focus on ourselves, focus on our next game, and if we take care of ourselves, then we'll see what happens.
Good stuff. And then I look on the Thursday night. How are the team feeling?
There's no point moving on.
Lost 1-0 over in Kazakhstan, but you were well in the game.
I mean, we were well in the game. It was a wonder strike, really, that separated both sides. We obviously had chances. Mackie had the chance, no one comes to the top of my head. We're definitely still in the tie. They obviously have to travel over here as well, and if we can get a good crowd behind us, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And it was a lovely pass on from Will Patchen for your own goal tonight. How's it feeling being back amongst the goals?
It's brilliant. Jackie was pointing out to me it's my third home game in a row that I've scored now in the league, so I didn't even think about that, but obviously playing in Europe you don't realise these things, but no, it's brilliant. Whenever you're being as a striker, you always want to be scoring. When you're not scoring, you're maybe a bit hard on yourself, but thankfully one hit the net tonight.
Good stuff. Thank you very much.
Now, so Jamie McGonigal was delighted obviously to get the result, having come back from Kazakhstan and all the travelling that was involved there. Obviously they'll have gotten, I suppose, relief out of getting that fixture out of the way and not stumbling over the line in that one, and now obviously looking to progress in Europe. But we'll move on. I think we should come to the cup games maybe last, because there was obviously games over the weekend. I was at Shells and Rovers, and I think you were at Pats and Bows. So I suppose I'll talk about the Shells game first. I mean, it was a game of 2 halves. I think everybody said that in the post-match discussion, was that it was sorry. There was something going on in my ear there. I don't know what it was. But yeah, sorry. It was a game of 2 halves, and Shamrock Rovers in the first half I suppose they showed their experience and kind of frustrated Shells, and they got that goal, great ball by Dylan Watts over Conor Kearns, and Marcus Poom was there at the back post and just smashed it in. So a great goal from their point of view. Shells probably disappointed to concede and have Marcus Poom on his own at the back post, just to tap it into an empty net. And then Shells obviously get the last minute equaliser through Gavin Malloy, who was absolutely superb in the team of the week yet again. And every time I watch this kid, I just think he's absolutely fantastic. He's I run out of words to say about him. He's playing out of position every single week, and he's Shell's best player consistently every single week. And then the two lads, Will Jarvis and Harry Wood, were brilliant for Shells as well. I mean, they were the constant threats for the Shells team. It got a bit feisty at times. I know Paddy Barrett and Graham Burke were throwing digs at each other at one stage. And, Barrett was just kind of winding up the Rovers team. I think what he brings to the Shells team is invaluable in terms of his experience and his know-how and the dark arts that he obviously learned at Dundalk and stuff like that. Still, in my opinion, a top player. I think maybe just because of injuries and stuff like that, he probably doesn't get the look in that he probably should up the top end of the league. But then you've got people like on Shamrock Rovers side, like Rory Gaffney at times was unbelievable. But Shells, they were resolute and they held strong. And in the second half, then I think a couple of players had said originally that they were in, I suppose, recent years they probably would have crumbled in that scenario. So the fact is that they, not that they took the game to Rovers, but that they stayed in the game and managed to keep going and ended up getting a result in the end, whereas probably before they wouldn't have. What was your thoughts?
Didn't drop the head.
Yeah, what was your thoughts when you had kind of seen and heard
the result? Mark Coyle,
oh sure, look, I was obviously at the Pats and Bows game, so I just was watching the notifications come in. Obviously Rovers scored, but I was about halfway through the first half, and I was like, oh, there you go. And then obviously it was coming late on. I saw a 94th minute, Gavin Malloy scored. Great goal, to be honest. I did predict a 1-1 draw, so I'll take the win on that one anyway. But look, as I said, Shells, when they get into the game and when they keep their heads up, they can get a result. It just seems to be, it's a lot. They're getting a lot of draws. Now I think this is one of the first games where they kind of have to come from behind. Usually when I see Shells, they score early and then they can see it late on. Against the Derry, I think I was watching up in Talca Park, they drew the game. But Rovers, I think it just seems to be a lack of being able to put the game to bed that they do last year. And I think that's just what's holding them back. Like, had they won there against Shells, you'd be saying the title race is pretty much over. Because, obviously Bows, Pats, that game was a finished 0-0 draw. So you would have said, Rovers won that, they'd be 7 points clear. Who's going to catch them? Possibly Derry, but no, as you said, the likes of Paddy Barrett and all them, was great at Pats when he was there. But it was a bit sad to see him go. Obviously, the last season, he was, just struggling with injuries, got back in last few games, that was about it. But look, a great result for Shells anyway. And another, I think that's 3 draws now from 3 against Rovers.
To be joined
well,
by
I spoke with Mark Coyle after the game.
But I'm going to say last minute, there was a couple of minutes added on, but it was a late equal. Delighted to be joined by Shelbourne's Mark Coyle. Mark, last minute, there was a couple of minutes added on, but it was a late equaliser. It must feel like a bit of a winner.
Yeah, I suppose when it's that late on and it comes like that, yeah, it's a great feeling, but I feel like we deserved it over, I'd say it was a game of 2 halves, and a draw is probably a fair result, but we're also a bit disappointed with how the first half went. So, look, it's a good point, and we'll look forward now to the next game.
2 similar goals, obviously, with the corners, and I just think, looking at the game itself, it seems to be a case of in that midfield, it was a bit of a dogfight, and it was getting a bit feisty, as Dublin derbies tend to.
Yeah, definitely. Look, when you come into the Dublin derby, you expect a tough battle, no matter who it is. So it's part of the game that we probably all enjoy as well. So look, we enjoyed it, and thankfully we got away with a point in the end up.
Two pretty big results in a week against Dundalk. Obviously a very good side, kind of competing with Shells in and around that area of the table, and then obviously against the champions, the Shamrock Rovers. It's shown big character, I suppose never giving up in games.
No, definitely. I think that's a part of what the gaffer installs on us, the belief, and to go out there and give 100% right thing, because you never know what will happen. We've been on the wrong end of it a few times as well, so thankfully now the last 2 weeks we've turned that around a bit, but hopefully now we can push on and get the 3 points rather than just the 1.
Yeah, you've been at the club now, I think it's 2 seasons. Is this your second season? So how have you found it? I mean, it seems as though Shells are pushing on more and more each season. I mean, if you're actually looking around, there's been pretty big injuries, like Sean Boyd out today. Don't really have a focal point of a striker, but still bringing in players, and they seem to be all kind of pushing for that same cause and, you know, never giving up.
Yeah, 100%. You look at the few boys that we brought in there at the window, they're very good there tonight. You look at Harry Wood and Will Jarvis, both played very well and caused them a lot of problems down the left, so they've been a big help. And then you've got the likes of Jack Moylan coming off the bench, who's also a massive player, as we all know. So look, we have a lot of strength there, and definitely compared to last year, I don't think we would have been able to control the second half as much as we did when you look back on it. So look, we're definitely improving and we're going in the right direction, but we still have a lot to work on.
So there you go, Mark Coyle. He was delighted to get the point, but I think he's at the point now where he wants to see Shells kick on again, and you know, Shells doing really well considering they are playing pretty much without a striker at the moment. Jack Moylan's not a striker, he's not a centre forward, and he didn't start the game against Rovers either. So I think a lot of credit has to go to Damien Duff for what he's getting in terms of results out of results like that against like teams like Shamrock Rovers and stuff like that. Seems to get a lot of criticism for getting draws and stuff like that, but when you're out your tallies, man, I don't see how you can just be expected to win all your games and stuff like that. You know, I think if Rovers were without Rory Gaffney, I think they'd struggle as well. So yeah, so look, anyway, moving on, where are we at now? Will we continue on with the results from the weekend? Just have a brief chat about that and then move on to the cup games this week, will we? Or did you want to? Oh, you actually wanted to touch on Cork, so we might as well flow into that.
Yeah, well, I'll just briefly touch on the other two results. It was Dundalk 1, Sligo 1. Pretty comfortable win for Dundalk. Just going off the highlights. Look at Sligo. Are they going to be struggling now at the moment? Possibly. With the loss of the likes of Max Mata. I know the goalkeeper McNicholas. He's also gone over to, I think, to Wrexham. Yeah, he's headed over there. So, from a Sligo perspective, could they get dragged into the playoff relegation scrap with Cork? Possibly, but look at Cork. Cork are just woeful at the moment. I'll just touch on Pat's Bows first as well, though. It was from a neutral perspective, I'd say it was a great game. Obviously, there was no goals and it was 0-0, but a game of I suppose two different sides. You had Bows were the more dominant side, played pretty much had most of the possession. But Pats were creating more chances. Best chance, Akintunde, I think, had a chance there late on. The header came in off a corner, hit the crossbar. But besides that, it was a fairly flat game, fairly even game. And obviously, both of them probably looking to go for, definitely in a race for Europe anyway, but looking for a title chase. Rovers drew, so they're still in it. But yeah, look at Cork, woeful. I think everybody was saying it was a must-win game against UCD. End up getting a draw out of it. Even the goal they did score, I thought was just. It was a good goal, but it was more of a fumble by the keeper as well. UCD obviously then went down at 60-something minute, banged in an equaliser, and you're kind of looking at Cork and saying, where do they go from here?
Yeah, well, I think, and the fans are getting very impatient, and I know they're not very friendly with the owner either as well, so there seems to be a lot of turmoil, but every so often and every couple of seasons there always seems to be this with Cork, I find. It's just that there always seems to be a bit of a fallout. There's never kind of any cohesion between the fans, say the owners, and I don't think there's ever any issue between the fans and the players. I think, the fans do support their players, but I think maybe they felt a little bit let down by the transfer window as well. I think a few of them were saying before that they thought they could have brought in more players and stuff like that. I think Ian Healy, he left, didn't he? I think he scored as well for the Belgian team he signed for in the second division, and he was a big player for them as well. So I think you add then the loss of, I think, Rory Keaton. He was back in train. Not sure if he was in the squad against UCD, but you take him out of that team and the goals that he has been scoring up until the point of obviously the tragic incident that happened. Losing him in terms of that, and probably the state of mind that he's in at the moment, you don't know what type of player or what way his confidence is going to be because he's suffered such a setback in his personal life. So I think in many ways that's kind of not really helped. The fact that they don't have a proper manager in place, like obviously because they got rid of Colin Healy, and now they've Liam Buckley kind of in there on an interim basis, and also everything's just a little bit messy at Cork at the moment, I feel, and it's not helping then because the fans are kind of getting on the backs of all of it as well. So I think it's a bit of a circus at the minute.
Yeah, look, obviously thoughts and prayers with Rory Keaton and his family.
Of course.
But look, as you said about Cork, there's always turmoil every couple of years. The chant there's only 10 Cork cities doesn't come from nowhere, just a club that just goes from the highest highs to the lowest lows. Watching them there, look at many fans have said it, even Buckley's come out and said it. They're not getting the players that are playing out on that pitch aren't playing to the ability they could be playing, and a lot of fans have just said that they're coming out there. Are they just playing there because they could say the professional footballers? Are they even playing for the badge? You'd think at this point in the season, Sligo have lost, as I said, lost a few players. You should be pushing to chase them. UCD, you're looking at an easy win. They're really looking like they want to go to the playoffs. Look, I don't think UCD will catch them in terms of they'll go straight relegation, but they don't seem like a team that wants to get out of that playoff spot. And if they do get into them playoffs, they're probably going to play Waterford more than likely, or they could play Cove. They'd be the two most likely ones you'd be looking at. And I know Waterford haven't had a great history in playoffs in recent years, but I'd say they'd be licking their lips looking at Cork saying, we could knock our Munster rivals down to the first division after they beat us to the promotion last year,
Yeah, and especially, and I know we're going to be talking about it now, is the fact that Ronan Coughlin is in serious form. Obviously breaking the League of Ireland First Division goal scoring record. With 31 goals, he's 6 goals away from the all-time league record, which is 37. I think it's Jimmy Turnbull, I think is the name of the actual record breaker. Let me just double check that while I have it there.
Well before my time, yeah.
I think you said off air it was the 1930s, and you are right. It is 1935-36 season. Jimmy Turnbull, and that is courtesy of Stato LOI on Twitter that they had that up there. So credit to them for pointing that one out. But yeah, look, he's got 10 games left, I think, and I'm not sure if you're including the playoffs in that. But if you are, then that potentially holds more games for him to score in.
And the cup as well.
And the cup. So you're looking at he could definitely, and I hope he gets either level or breaks it and can avoid injury between now and then, or any sort of suspensions. And I love, like, records are there to be broken, so I hope he goes and smashes it. Nice fella. I've met him numerous times. Really good guy. Obviously, at this stage, you would say he's too good for the first division and should be playing for a Premier Division side. I know you had him at Pats, and he had a good season his first year, I'm fairly sure, and then kind of tailed off, I think, when Tim Clancy came in, and just wasn't really the same player after that.
Yeah, no, he was at Pats there 2021. Like, could have been at before then, but he's definitely there 2021. I remember did well.
He was there when Alan Matthews was there, wasn't he? And Stephen O'Donnell.
Yeah, he was definitely there for O'Donnell anyway. Obviously, look at last season, didn't get much game time. I know he was out for injury. I think he only played maybe 1 or 2 games. I remember him going on against UCD and just kind of, obviously being out a while, so he almost looked a bit lost. But no, look, I wish him the best as a former Pats player. And he just seems to absolutely be destroying the first division. I think there's been a few games now where he's 3-4 goals, just banging them in. Can he do that against Cork now in the cup? Obviously, that's coming up on Friday. That's going to be a massive game for not only these two teams, but also the fans. Massive rivalry down there. Can Waterford get something out of that game? and will almost serve as like a prelude to the playoffs if these two sides do meet in the playoffs.
And obviously he used to play for Cork as well, so there's a bit of history there.
That's it. Yeah.
So it's almost destined for him to go there and get a result, but it remains to be seen.
Score a hat-trick.
Yeah, there's other cup games I think you wanted to touch on then, or did you want to touch on or did you want to touch on the Galway result with Waterford, the 2-2?
2-2. Yeah, look at I think with that draw now, I know Waterford were trying to close the gap there. I think Galway scored late on in the game. To get a draw out of the game, Waterford obviously would be looking to chase Galway, but now I think at this point it's pretty much guaranteed nobody's going to catch Galway. If it was going to be anybody, it was going to be Waterford, but I think it's like something like 18 points in it. You're not catching that.
It's not.
No. Obviously, Caulfield's done a great job there this year. There's questions of will he stay on next season when they do go up. It's not really a case of if anymore. It's a case of when they go up. Is he going to stay there next year? I know there's been murmurs of he could be moving somewhere else, but it's set to be seen now at this point. But yeah, look at Galway had an absolutely incredible season. I believe they're still in the cup as well. So I actually fancy to get to the semi-finals in the cup myself now, to be honest. And that might be a bit of a maybe not unpopular opinion, but a bit of an out there one. But yeah, look, if they pretty much have promotion wrapped up, they could go on a decent cup run as well.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking at Galway. They play 27. They're on 70 points, and then Waterford are next in second, who played 26, and they're on 54 points. So they're obviously a game in hand, but they're still 16 points behind. So, as you said, I think it's nailed on for them to go up now at this stage. It's a bit like Shells going up a few years ago, and Galway was actually the team that was second, and it was whether Galway could catch Shells or not, and they just weren't able to in the end. And I could foresee Waterford going up via a playoff, and we were speaking there about Cork and stuff like that. It's just in those games, and we saw with Shells and Longford a few years ago, like it's all about momentum going into those games. If you're going into it in a really bad patch of form and a team below you are coming in a really good patch of form, it can be a real nightmare. And that's what happened to Shelburne in the year of COVID, having to go down and then have to come back up. It was really, really bad. So I think Cork will be doing all they can to avoid that, and I'm sure they'll be hoping to get Rory Keaton back at some point as well. But yeah, I think this is the other cup games you wanted to run through before we I think wrap up.
Yeah, look, obviously you've got Bray and Dundalk, Kerry and Drogheda would be an interesting game. I think this will be the first time Kerry have played a Premier Division opponent in their history, obviously, because they've only existed for a year, but be interested to see how well they fare against a side at a considerably higher level than them. UCD Galway, you'd be expecting Galway. Actually, that could be a decent game, to be honest. I know UCD haven't been the greatest, and you probably would expect Galway to get something out of that. I'd probably get the win on that, but could be an interesting one. Harps and Skerries Town, Bows and Rockmount.
I think that one would be a good one. I think the Bows and Rockmount one would be a good game. I don't know why. I know plenty of people down in Cork from working down there a little bit last year, and I know people involved in Rockmount, and obviously it's the club where Roy Keane kind of made his name before moving to Cove and stuff. So like they're always kind of in the top level. If you look at cups and stuff like that, they're always kind of thereabouts. So I think they might. I'm not saying they're going to upset Bows, but I think they might give them a good game. It'd be interesting to see. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on that result. But I think that's one of the obviously the one that you'll be looking after is Derry and Pats. I think that's the tie of the round really. But sorry, you were going through the list. Sorry, didn't mean to cut across you.
Yeah, well, other than Derry Pats, there's one more game. There's a St. Pat's, another St. Pat's actually, St. Pat's CY, who are Ringsend's finest, and they're playing Wexford. They're welcoming Wexford. But yeah, of course, Derry Pats. That's probably the game a lot of people are looking at besides Cork Waterford. Realistically, it could go either way. Pats obviously haven't had great luck in the Brannywell. think it's been about 5 years since we've won the Brandywell. It's been a while anyway. But if there's any time you're gonna try beat Derry, is it now? Come on, they're on a European run. Got me tired. Pat's probably not tip-top form, but definitely in form that you could beat Derry. We've obviously previous results this season. It was 1-1 in Richmond, 2-0 up in the Brandywell. Derry won 2-0, and then Pat's dumped Derry 4-1 there in the league about 2 months ago. So it's not like Pats can't beat Derry if Derry kind of show up and almost, or don't show up, almost kind of half arse it, and if Pats show up, they are more than capable of beating Derry, but obviously then the pitch as well. You're gonna have that coming into it.
Yeah, I just think with I actually think whoever wins that will probably win the cup. I think between them and maybe Bows. I think that's they've got to be the favourite. I think Bows, Derry or Pats. And again, if Pats, if Derry put a lot into the game against Tobol, then Pats could be licking their lips, going, right, well we've had a full week to recover. We're fresh, and then having to play them. Only thing is that obviously Pats have to travel up there, but otherwise, everything else is kind of in Pats' favour, and they obviously have the history of winning the cup. I know Derry won it last year against Shells. Don't need to remind me. But yeah, like I think
great game.
You're looking at Pats, and you're going, right, well, they have players in there that have won the cup before. They're experienced in that. There's players in there that have won the league as well. So they should be going up there with no real fear. And I expect it to be a really good game. I actually have my niece's christening on Sunday, so I won't actually get a chance to watch it. But it would have been one that I definitely would have been keeping an eye on and probably had on LOI TV.
Yeah, I should be headed up there myself anyway for the game. But look, as you said, you'd probably be expecting one of them to at least be finalists. Whoever wins this tie. I was more so thinking Dundalk. I think Dundalk might get to the final. Because I think...
Dundalk. I forgot they were in it, so I feel bad now. I think, look, between them four, as I said, Bows, Dundalk, Pats and Derry.
Well, I think besides last year, I think every single year in the past 10 years, the cup finalists have been from the top five. I think Shells were the first ones in 10 years to have been finished outside the top five and ended up in a cup final. But yeah, look, it'll be a great game anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think have we had more on the list there that we were going to discuss? I know next week we're going to have try to get more guests on rather than us just speaking. I think that's it, is it?
Like just quickly touch on, obviously there's the few transfers at this time of the year. Yes. Obviously all the English clubs are licking their lips, looking at what sort of Irish talent they can pinch for penny prices. Unfortunately, obviously I've said Luke McNicholas from Sligo Rovers, he's headed over to Wrexham. There's talks of Bristol City coming in from Adam Murphy from Pats, which would be a big loss. He's been absolutely sensational this season. What sort of price he'd be getting from, I do not know. And then there was also Mason Melia for Pats as well, was over training with Man City, but obviously he's only 15, so he can't move over to England till he's 18. Yeah, thanks to the new Brexit rules are coming in the past couple of years. But look, I think that's about it.
Yeah, well, I think just on Murphy, there's been a lot of talk of him for a few years now. I know he's still only very, very young, but a very highly rated player. And injury setbacks consistently he's had. But from what I've heard and scouts and stuff like that, it's like he is one that if he can settle down those injuries, he's up there with like Sam Curtis as one of the top prospects in the league in terms of like young teenage sensations to kind of come through. So if he was to go, I imagine they'll get a decent fee for him. Whether or not he will go still remains to be seen. I think there's also talk of Jack Moylan maybe going to Lincoln as well. Damien Duff spoke about that after the game the other night. So it seems as though that the interest with Lincoln is definitely there. It's just whether or not he'll go in the end of this window or will he go in January. It looks like he'll probably go in January, but because Shells weren't able to get enough players probably in the door, and they're obviously trying to push for a European. Well, trying to push for a European place as well. I don't think will probably happen at this stage, just because other teams are just ahead, and as I said, injuries and stuff like that. So I think he's been just left frustrated that he hasn't got a striker and stuff like that. Although he wasn't really moaning about it, he was just kind of saying, well, we can't let him go because of this. But I think if Jack went to Lincoln, he'll be joined by obviously Sean Rowan, who was at Drogheda a couple of seasons back, under 21s player, left back, and Dan Mandreo, who's really hitting form there as well. So I think if he did go there, he'd kind of be in good company. And but by the time he actually does go, he could actually end up being Mandrea's replacement, because I think if he continues playing the way he's been playing, I think he might get a move away from there, and that would actually free up Jack Moylan. But either way, it looks as though Jack's going to be heading off, and then Luke McNicholas, I think that's actually a loan deal, and they have to pay Sligo a certain fee as well, so at least they're getting a fee for it, which I think is good. And then Mason Melia, look, everybody's talking about this young fella. I haven't seen him play. I've only seen his goal scoring highlights. Looks like a serious player. Again, I talk about people talking about people in the league. Again, this is the youngest League of Ireland goal scorer of all time. To me, he looks as though he's going to be a superstar, but we just need to try and keep him grounded as well. A lot, to take in for him, being the youngest League of Ireland goal scorer and stuff like that. Will he let it get to his head? Hopefully not. But he is still at only 15. So you've got to put yourself. I mean, I'm sure you're not far off his age, I would say. But me, I look back to when I was 15, I didn't know what was going on. So I just hope his parents are keeping him grounded. And let him go on trial at here and there, and let him just kind of see what level they think he's at, and how far he can go, or what his ceiling is in terms of how he can get to. So look, it could be a case of another Troy Parrott though. So you just always kind of have to, it could be, it's either an Evan Ferguson or Troy Parrott. You're kind of looking at it. So I just say just kind of let him develop. And yeah, look, he's only gone on trial. He hasn't transferred, as you said, he can't transfer. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to him over the next kind of couple of seasons, or will maybe a European club come in for him or something like that. You just don't know. Like, we've seen players going like Zeffy and Cathal Heffernan and stuff like that. They've gone to Milan. Obviously, they're on the move again now. I think Heffernan's after joining up at Newcastle. I don't know if that's confirmed yet, but he's been there. And then you look at other players who've gone abroad as well. I know Jacob Ryan went to Crystal Palace initially, but then he went to Molenbeek in Belgium, and then last night he signed for Lyon. So that's a huge move as well. And Cork made a bit of money on that, which was good to see as well. They got a bit of a windfall on that. And there's a lot of talk about Evan Ferguson, whether he's going to go. And if he goes, it's obviously going to be big money that Brighton are going to expect for him. Licking
the lips as well.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is that Bowes would be looking at that. So look, at least in some cases we're starting to see some fees coming in, or clubs are being a bit smarter in terms of percentages adding on, and we're starting to see Irish players actually getting moves, because the only Irish transfers we tend to really see are our centre backs getting moved on. Like Nathan Collins and Andrew Omabamidele's been linked to AC Milan and a few other clubs, and Darragh O'Shea moved to Burnley in the Premier League. So I think we only tend to see our centre backs moving more, so it'd be great to see some midfielders and attackers and stuff like that start getting big moves and start doing well, because obviously the national team need it as well. But I think overall the league needs fees coming in for players and stuff like that. That's again Jack Moylan. I hope he goes for a fee if he does go. I think his contract was extended anyway, so I think Shell should expect a fee for him. It'd be criminal to see someone like him go on a free, as we've seen so many players in the past going on frees, and just not the best of transfers, to be fair. Actually, funny story is that I think the loan move and the loan fee for McNicholas is actually more than what Rovers got from Mandreo.
That's good business anyway, at the very least.
Yeah.
Because obviously Max Mata, though, they didn't release the fee, so you kind of imagine that's probably wasn't the highest amount. So at least they're getting some amount of money anyway in the transfer windows, like them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it then, is it? In terms of our topics, we'll be back next week. Obviously, similar time. I know it might be a bad time for people if we're going live, so nobody seemed to put it in the comments today from YouTube itself. But either way, we will be back next week. Hopefully, we will have a bit more in terms of our podcast, in terms of maybe a couple of players and stuff on. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Make sure you follow Peter at Everything LOI on all the socials, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I'm not sure about Facebook, but he can let you know about that in a sec. And then don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And Peter, are you on Facebook as in Everything LOI?
No.
But you're
TikTok.
on everything else.
That's the main
TikTok,
one.
sorry, that's the main one.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
That's where I do my business.
Yeah. So yeah, check out his videos. It's really good, interesting videos and insightful videos as well. So check that out as well. Don't forget to give him a follow. We'll speak to you all soon. Thanks very much for watching and listening.